Hello, YouTube and 9th Age community. This is Charles Silverfish Gaming, and I have another 9th Age battle report, baby. Oh my goodness, this is a very fun game I just had with a friend this past weekend. So we're gonna get right into it. He's playing as Saurian Ancients. He had a Saurus Veteran on a Raptor with the Great Weapon and the Death Cheater. And it says he was his army general, but he played him as his BSB. I think there might have been a little mix-up. He played the Alpha Carno as his general. So the Alpha Carno, he had paired weapons and Potion of Swiftness, the Starfall Shard, and a Touch of Greatness. Then he had 2 Skink Priests for all of his magic needs. He had a Shamanism Adept with the Jade Staff and a Druidism with the Sun Tablet. And I think he might have mixed up those lores or might have been switching them at the last minute. He hadn't played in a couple minutes, so because definitely the Shamanism guy had the Sun Tablet because he took the 5 and 6 spells from that lore. So he had a big block of Source Warriors, 27, with the Banner of Speed, and they have spears, and they were Jaguar boys. And then he had just some Skink Braves for, you know, just a Wizard Bunker. He had a small unit of Raptor Riders, some Pterodons with Poison Javelins and Shields, and then decent amount of shooting with his Weapon Beasts, 2 things to 2 Spearbacks, 1 Salamander, and then he had a single Taurosaur with the Engine of the Ancients. So a couple monsters, big block of infantry, a lot of kind of light shooting units. Good list, a lot of magic. I mean, Druidism and Shamanism, great paths. You really can't go wrong with those. So, yeah. So let's take a look at my list. I pulled something out a lot different. Something I feel like I've wanted to try for a long time, and it's Inquisitors. I love the Inquisitor. I love the rules. Wanted to play them. So I have an Inquisitor on a horse with the Blessed Steel, and he is the Hammer Witches, a Lucky Charm, a Potion of Swiftness, and the Witchfire Guard. And then I have an Inquisitor with paired weapons, Repeater Pistol, and he's got the Silver Shots, and he's also on a horse. And then I have a Martial BSB with a shield, the Black Steel, and the Death Warrant, kind of like classic little Martial BSB. And then I have a Prelate. He is my general. He's got a great weapon and plate armor, and he's only got that plate armor, so you know he's got the Imperial Steel boy. And then I had 10 points left over, so I give him a Potion of Strength for kicks and giggles. And then I have a Wizard with Divination, and that's it. Oh, he's a Wizard Master with Divination, and that's it. Straight up simple Wizard, baby. Yeah, very different from how I run my Wizards normally. In my core, I have 11 Electoral Cav with Knightly Orders, with Lances, Musician Shield, Full Command, and they have the Stalker Standard. And then I have 2 things of Electoral Cav with Great Weapons and Musicians, so kind of the cheap cav. And then I have 1 thing of State Militia with Skirmish, if you can guess where my Wizard's going. I have a single Arcane Engine with the Arcane Shield because I've been kind of missing like a plain Arcane Engine in some lists I've been playing lately. It's nice to have your Wizard and the Arcane Engine sort of separate something, even though you get such a good discount. Sometimes when they're bundled together, they are, you know, it's a big target. So then I have a decent-sized block of Imperial Guard, 20 Imperial Guard, full command, and they have the Rending Banner. And I have in my Imperial Auxiliaries a unit of 5 Rangers, and then a unit of 9 Riders with Brace of Pistols and Heavy Armor. And I even got a Champion with a Repeater Pistol. I've never used this upgrade. It's not even really, like, point efficient, but I just kind of want to try it out. That's where the guy with the Silver Shots goes. And then I have a Steam Tank rounding out my list, because, you know me, I love my Steam Tank. So I only have 4 spells from Divination. So for this game, I chose the Stars Align and Quicksilver Lash for my Hereditary. And then I also took Scrying and Unerring Strike. I need to do some damage, but Scrying and Stars Align are also just 2 of the best spells in the game, honestly. Just so good. Striking hard target and real to hit. You can't go wrong with that. My opponent didn't have spell cards, so it's a little bit confusing on his magic, but I'm pretty sure I pieced it together. So from Shamanism, he's got Break the Spear and Totemic Summon, and that's why he had the Sun Tablet in him. And then from Druidism, he took Healing Waters. I want to say he took Entwining Roots, And then he also took Spark of Creation, and he's got Healing Waters actually from the Jade Staff. So the deployment, we played Refused Flank, and then our objective was King of the Hill. So King of the Hill is always really interesting. It's the one where you choose a train piece, and you got to keep your opponent out of that train piece. So looking at deployment, we traded a couple drops between like my knights. I think my knights and I even felt really confident just being able to put my Imperial Guard wherever I wanted, because one of the things I like about this army, and I might talk about this later, is it's got a lot of independent features, which is different from most of our Sonnstahl armies. Most times, everything's bubbled up, it's close together, but I feel confident being able to put, a few things down, like my Imperial Guard and my Arcan Engine, because they really, they're pretty independent of each other. But looking at his deployment, so we traded a few drops, and then he put everything else down, and I think he got a +5 to go to try and go first, so. He's got some spearbacks on his flank. The Khatim Incarnates are his Pterodons. And he's got his Alphacarno a little bit in that field. He's got his Raptor Riders next to his Taurosaur with his engine. And he's got that Skink Bunker behind the Raptor Riders. That's where he's got both his Skink Priests. And then he's got his big unit of Spears with his BSB on a Raptor. So we played it as a BSB. I don't think it was in the list, but that's how we played it this game. And then he's also just got one more unit of Spearbacks in a rune on my right, and then he's got a Salamander in the forest next to those spears. So this is just kind of an overview of my deployment, and then we'll get a little bit more specific. I felt like I could sort of spread out with this list because I don't know. He was pretty concentrated on my left flank, but I put some elements over there. But so I've got a 1 unit Electoral Cav with the Great Weapons Musician on my left, or I guess it's my left. It's left in this, but it's my right. And I've got my unit of Riders and my Silver Shot guy, kind of behind that impassable train. I didn't want them to get shot turn 1, in case he got turn 1. And then I have my Imperial Guard with my General and my BSB in there, kind of right in the middle. They've got that nice train feature to the one of the sides protecting a flank. The water feature is what I chose for King of the Hill. We'll talk about that more in a second. Got some militia behind the water, some knights kind of... I was trying to zone the Pterodons and the Carno. I didn't want them just to go full steam ahead and kind of get past my knights, so they're kind of at a funky angle back there. And then I also didn't want to make sure that my steam tank couldn't shoot turn 1 at the Alphacarno, so I popped it up on the hill, and then I've got this 1 unit knights. And I believe these knights were one of my first drops, so that's why they're all by themselves with just the steam tank next to them. So yeah, we rolled up King of the Hill, which I played a couple times. It's one of the least featured objectives at tournaments, but so he chose this forest, and I chose the water feature. So I have to get, some scoring units into that forest, and he's got to get some scoring units into the water feature. So he's got his spears, right across, and also his Raptor Riders are pretty close too. So, and then his Skinks are falling up behind too. So he's got some scoring that can head toward it. This is my Silver Shots guy here in the corner of the Riders. You can see my Prelate on the right, and my BSB on the left, and the Imperial Guard. And then my Wizard on the right, and my Inquisitor is on the left there in the right corner of the Knights. This is where I dropped my Rangers. I kind of wanted to try and see if I could do some shots at the Alphacarno. This is where he vanguarded up his Pterodons. And then we're going to go in his turn 1, because he won the roll-off to go first. He flies the Pterodons over, and he drops some rocks on my Ranger boys. They don't die, surprisingly. He rolled like really low on it. I think he only rolled 4 hits, but he wounded with all 4. So, and then they passed their panic. So I've only got 1 Ranger left, but it's better they're alive than all dead. And then he moves up a little bit, not that aggressively. I'll show a better picture of that later. This is just me pointing at his wizards and saying they didn't do anything turn 1. I think he failed to cast Oaken Throne with 1 dice, and then I stopped the Jade Staff, and I stopped another spell. So, good turn 1 magic for me. He shoots his Spearbacks at my Electoral Cav, and he kills a guy, so they don't take a panic, which is nice. Mirrors the same result on this side, kills 1, so no panic, which is also nice. And then he just kills a couple militia with his Pterodons. not enough for a panic. So shooting is pretty light turn 1. So now we're going to Emperor Sonnstahl turn 1. So this is where you can see where he moved and where I kind of counter moved on my turn 1. I had to chaff with the Electoral Cav on my left in front of the steam tank. I don't need the Carno going in the steam tank. I think it has a very decent chance of killing the steam tank in 1 round. So I had to chaff that, and then just kind of moved up my riders to shoot his spearbacks. Moved up my Electoral Cav to try and maybe go, you know, sit back in that forest or something, and then moved my Imperial Guard to kind of protect my engine, and I moved my militia out of the way of the pterodons too. So it's just showing I can shoot them. I was at long range, however. My magic phase, I got Flux card 3, and I saved 2 Veil tokens, so I believe it was 7 dice to 5. I believe he stopped a unerring strike, and then I got a Quicksilver Lash off. And I think I also tried to get Stars Align, but I failed it with 2 dice, and then I got the Quicksilver Lash. And with my pistols, I did some decent damage to the pterodons, but there's still 2 left. And then I shot over here, and my 2-wound roll was really bad. And then my Silver Shot guy just missed all the shots. Really, really bad luck with that shooting. So there's 2 wounds on one of them. So starting with his turn 2, he charges the flank of my knights. He doesn't want to, you know, he doesn't want to do it. See if like the knights will panic. He just goes in with his Razordons. His BSB leaves the big unit of spears, so you can see he's like on that wall now, kind of threatening, you know, my right flank, but also could possibly go into the, you know, Imperial Guard. He's got a few options. So, and then he just you know, moves his Alpha Carno over. He moves his, you know, his Torosaur over. His, you know, he's kind of moving everything on my left. My left has got a lot of pressure. I've only really got the Knights over there and the Inquisitors. So, I mean, I got the Steam Tank too, but they can't react. And then he shafts me with his 2 remaining pterodons. So, yeah, got a lot of pressure on the left, a little bit on the right. So, he gets a flame off. Yeah, I wanted to throw some magic at this guy, but I just couldn't. He kills like 10. Oof, rough. It's rough, right, for Imperial Guard to die. And then combat is, you know, not all that much. He just does 1 wound to me. I do 1 wound to him, but he does break me. And he runs me down, and he goes like 12 inches. So he actually sort of is blocking his Torosaur now, which is kind of interesting. So we'll see how that plays out in the next turn. And then this is how the end of the turn 2 of Saurian Ancients is looking. He shot at my riders with his 1 spearback, and he sent them panicking. So that was really unfortunate for me. So Emperor Sonnstahl turn 2. I really debated a long time about what I wanted to do, but I decided I just wanted to get rid of these pterodons, so I go into them with my knights. I just moved my steam tank up 43 so I can still shoot. I was able to get out of the charge arc, also of the Alpha Carno, which is nice. Thankfully, my riders rally, which is awesome, and they're also more than 18 inches away from this guy, so he will have to move out of the rune if he wants to shoot them again, which is nice. So if I do want to move up and shoot his remaining spear back, if he doesn't panic me again, I have that option available to me. And then I also had to chaff up his BSB with my knights, unfortunately, because I didn't need his BSB charging my riders. I don't think a stand and shoot kills him. It's really unlikely. So, and then I just reformed my Imperial Guard again. I think I made their front smaller, and they're just, you know, just chilling with Arcane Engine behind them. And my wizard's really gonna try and target his Alpha Carno this time, because honestly, that's, you know, this is the biggest threat to me right now. So I got Flux card 2, which isn't great, not the greatest magic phase I wanted. I am able to trade in for 2 more dice, and I get Unerring Strike off on this bad boy, and I get a decent amount of hits, and I do 2 wounds to him because he's got a 4-up armor save against it. And then I had 2 dice left over because he tried to stop Unerring Strike and he couldn't. I had 2 dice left over, so I just threw Perception of Strength on my knights because I was really debating about, do I want to run away? Do I want to stand? I decided if I had strength 6, there's some chances there. I could even maybe kill his Carno with my Inquisitor, was my thought. We'll see how that turns out for me. I throw the breath weapon at these spearbacks, and I do 1 wound. I rolled snake eyes, and then my cannon missed for the second turn. I think I hit the first turn, but I failed to wound. He's got the Starfall shard, I believe, on his Alpha Carno, so it's kind of tough. It's a little tough, when he's got hard targets. It's a little hard sometimes. So this is the end of Emperor Sonnstahl turn 2. So obviously he had no problem killing the Pterodons. They didn't do any damage to my knights. I made myself wider, and like looking back, I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking. Because that puts me in a scary position. If I lose 2 models, I don't have 2 ranks. But I've got a lot of things that are going to charge me, or can charge me, so some of the things are blocked, but we'll see how that all turns out. And speaking of how that turns out, let's move into Soren Ancient's turn 3. And on turn 3, he decides that he's charging with all 4 of these units. So the spearbacks can see, and they can charge and get out of the way, so the Taurosaur can charge. The Alpha Carno obviously can charge and then get out of the way for the Raptor Riders. So yeah, really interesting. A lot of stuff charging. I passed my terror test. When I was able to get Unerring Strike off, I also got the Divination attribute on my knights, which was awesome. So I passed my terror test, and then I just held it. I held against everything. I'm really hoping that a couple of things fail. And I'm thinking I'll challenge out the Alpha Carno with my Inquisitor. We'll see how that goes. I go first in anything. We both have potions. So yeah, I go first. He charges his BSB into my knights. I can't really do anything about him. I was chaffing him. And then you charged here with the source, but he failed. So that's okay. And then he only makes it into the knights with the Alpha Carno and the 2 spearbacks. So I was like, okay. Okay, and I was okay with that, because, I mean, I have strength 5 up on my knights. I'm thinking I can do a couple wounds to the spearbacks, and I just gotta kind of hope that I either kill the Alpha Carno or, the Carno rolls bad, because I'm not really that worried about the guy on top, because I have a 4-up Aegis against his attacks. And these guys both failed, and they went 4 inches forward, so that was spicy. He moves his Salamander over here to flame these guys again. Which is, again, I can't do anything to stop it. And he does flame, and he kills another 6 guys. Not as bad, thankfully. He shoots over here, and he kills another, like, 3 or 4 riders, I think. I think I had 7, so he kills another 3. But this time, I passed the panic test, so that was the big thing. And then going into combat, oof. I go first with my Inquisitor. I think he hits 3 times, like on a 3-up, and then he only wounds once with Lethal Strike, and then he only does 1 wound. So I do 1 wound to his Alpha Carno. His character, I think, goes next and does 1 wound, and then the Carnosaur goes next and does like a bajillion wounds. And we actually have a live reenactment of that if you wanna check that out. So then the unit kind of whiffs on the spearbacks. The spearbacks, I think they did like 5 wounds. They rolled so hot, but I made all my armor saves. I'm steadfast, and I passed my Discipline 7 check with the Divination attribute. So, whew, I stick around. This combat here, I do 1 wound with a horse somehow, and then the guy just with the red one goes bump, 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 and he just smokes all the knights, which was incredible. And he turns the face to look back in the Imperial Guard. And this is how the end of Soren Ancient's turn 3 is looking. So very, very interesting, very spicy turn. I was almost worried that if things went bad this turn, I was like, that's probably the end of the game. But we're still in it, and we still have a lot to do, so let's go right into Emperor Sonnstahl turn 3, and the start of Emperor Sonnstahl turn 3, baby. You know that Steam Tank. You know that Steam Tank is coming into that Alpha Carno to try and save the day. So the Steam Tank comes in, and I believe that's the only charge, really. I moved my Riders up because I want to see if I can kill his BSB. I mean, the Silver Shots guy has a decent chance of getting at least one lethal strike. And, you know, that goes past his armor and his fortitude save. So that's kind of what I was banking on. Also, decent amount of, you know, AP 2 shots as well. And just kind of move my wizard back, but also within range to shoot the salamander. So, yep. Magic phase, I got Flux card 5, which is you know, really good magic phase. I saved one Veil token. I think I picked up 4 more dice. However, I just fail a lot of spells here. So I failed to cast Quicksilver Lash on his Torsaur. Want to see if I got some wounds on it. I failed to cast Unerring Strike on his Salamander. I was just kind of nervous the pistols wouldn't be able to kill it in one round of shooting. And then I try and get scrying off on my Steam Tank to make it harder for, you know, the Alpha Carno to do wounds to it, but he stops that. So then I am able to get off the Stars Align on my Militia. So I got something off. But man, oh, I just failed so many spells. I'm like 3 dice too. It's ridiculous. I do shoot at the Salamander, and with the 8 pistol shots, I'm able to kill it. So I was very pleased with that. Yeah, that was nice. And then, ooh, I go over here and I shoot, and my Silver Shots guy, he hits, I think 2 or 3 times, actually. He wounds once or twice, just on, like, a normal thing, and he gets a lethal strike, and I'm like, yes! And then the multiple wounds are roll of 1. So, I was unfortunate, I guess. And then the rest of the unit shot, too, and I think we did, like, a couple extra wounds to him, but he passes all the rest of his saves. And then we go into combat, and the impact hits from the Steam Tank do it, and it kills the Alpha Carno. And I was like, feeling on top of the world at this moment. It's why I love my Steam Tank. It's why I tuck it into bed every night and give it a kiss. And then the rest of the combat, again, the Spearbags just really couldn't do any damage to the Knights. I think we killed one, and then it fled, and we just decided to reform because it's his turn next, and he's obviously going to have some more charges. So he decides to... this is actually, sorry, this is the end of turn pick for Emperor Sonnstahl turn 3. So he's got that Torsaur, and he's got the Saurus Cav, and he's still got this big block of spears that I have to fight too. And my Imperial Guard, you know, have been greatly reduced by that Salamander. I think there's only 13 guys left. There's 3 ranks of 5 right now, plus 2 characters. Yeah, there's like 13 Imperial Guard left. So, yeah, that's this is definitely not an easy fight. So turn 4, he decides to charge the Saurus Cav into the Knights, and he decides to charge the Torsaur into the Steam Tank. And I think he was debating about going into the Knights, but I think his fear was, at this point, there's not too many things that can deal with the Steam Tank, and the Torsaur has a chance to actually put some serious wounds on that bad boy. So that's why he goes into there. And then the rest of the movement, he does bring his Saurus with spears, his Saurus warriors into my Imperial Guard. That's not going to be an easy fight. He's got a lot of attacks. The only thing I've got going for me is he's hitting me on 5s. And then he moves his Saurus Veteran BSB back, kind of towards his forest. And he moves the Spearbacks up to shoot my my Riders. I think he was trying to zone, but kind of maybe get him away from the Riders. He's only got a wound left, so I think he was nervous, I believe, with that guy. So in the magic phase, he's able to get off Break the Spirit on my Imperial Guard, so that's rough. That's a Green Dragon dice, by the way. Shout out to Green Dragon Gaming. Those guys are cool. And then I put a minion dice for I'm pretty sure he got the Oaken Throne off, and then I think I stopped any of his Druidism spells. Shooting, this guy just whiffs. I think he only got 2 hits, and he didn't even hit with them. So, yeah, kind of big whiff, which was nice. So now I can either go kill him or go kill the veteran or whatever. And then in combat, this Taurosaur kind of whiffs too. He gets like 7 impact hits, but I make like 4 armor saves, and then I do 1 wound back to him, so he wins combat. But you know, Steam Tank's unbreakable, and it just turns the face. So yeah, which is you know, good for me. And then in this combat, we're going at the same time, but we just kind of, I rolled first. And I did 2 wounds. I think a horse did a wound too. My horses were just coming up clutch in this game. They did a wound, my knights did a wound, so, you know, I do 2 wounds, which was great. I just really needed to do 1, I felt like, so I could be steadfast. He does 2 wounds back to me, because, you know, he's got strength 6, and, you know, the raptors are strength 4 too. So, ends up, you know, just being a tie combat, because he's got a charge, I go to banner, 2 wounds to 2 wounds, so... we stick it out. This combat goes really well for me. He only does 3 wounds to me. I do, what, 6, like 10 wounds back to him. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if there was a full rank in the back, but I do more damage as a Hinden than he does to me. And, yeah, so that's, I think I might have done 10 wounds. I think my prelate did 2 and my unit did 8. They just hit really hot with, like, battle focus and everything like that. And this is what the end of the turn's looking like. So, yeah, it's kind of becoming, you know, it's like, I felt like it was turning more and more for Emperor Sonnstahl at this point. Going into my turn 4, I didn't really have any charges, and my movement will be kind of obvious later on, so we just kind of went right into the magic phase. Got Flux card 7, saved a couple. I failed to get the Stars Align off on my own unit. I think I just threw 2 dice at it. It was a little risky, but I don't know. I didn't have a ton of dice this phase. I got Scrying off on my Body of Knights, put Guiding Light on them too, so that's really helpful in case, you know, something goes wrong in that combat. And then I threw a quick Silver Lash at the last remaining Spearback. It's, you know, I didn't need that unit chaffing me later on in the game or anything. So I shoot over here, and this Spearback makes 4 6-up armor saves. And you know, my Inquisitor with the Silver Shots hit twice, wounded twice. I didn't roll Lethal Strike, and I actually rolled a multiple wounds, and 2 4s came up. So I just need one of those to go through, but he made 2 6-ups. He made 2 6-ups from the unit. Absolutely crazy. And then in this combat, so this is actually way after a couple combats. So the Knights did well against the. I think they just killed one of the Raptor Riders. And then beat him on combat, you know, just 1 by 2. The Raptor Riders fled. I chased them down, and then I also got to go into the Taurosaur. I only had like 1 Knight that goes in there, and he didn't wound, but the Steam Tank does another wound, and then we just won again with combat res, and we pursued, but we didn't catch the Taurosaur, unfortunately. And in this combat, again, it goes well. Killed another like 6 or something like that. He kills another 4 of me. Yeah, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So, winning again. He's steadfast 7. Because his BSB, I don't think it's close enough. And he rolls, and unfortunately he rolls us a little too high, 662, so that's an 8, and he's down to 7 with fear, so he's fleeing. I decided to pursue because it's a huge unit. If I can get it out of the way, it'd be awesome. He goes a little bit farther than I do. I think he rolled 7, I rolled 5. So I was a little unfortunate there. Catching one of those units would have been big. And I lost like 4 more dudes to break the spirit too. Rolled really bad, dangerous terrain test for that unit. So yeah, this is what it's looking like at the end of Emperor Sonnstahl turn 4. Yeah, he's still a lot of pieces on the board. He's got 2 big fleeing things. I don't know, it's a really interesting spot, honestly. You know, I felt a lot of momentum this turn, and not catching those units was a little bit of kind of like a fizzle on the momentum, but yeah, there's still a lot that can happen. So Saurian Nation's turn 5. He decides he wants to charge his Source Veteran BSB into my Imperial Guard, and it was a long charge. And I was even thinking I could use my Prelate to challenge him out, but I just didn't really feel like I had to guarantee killing him. And he could easily clobber on my Prelate and then just the unit, so I decided to flee. And then his Taurosaur just continues to flee, but his Saurus Warriors rally, so that is, I don't know, I almost would have rather had the Saurus Warriors flee. He chaps me with his skink priest, so I can't just push his Torsaur off the board next turn. Very smart. I think this is the shamanism priest. And then he just moves his other spear back to shoot at my guy, since he survived a miraculous round of shooting. And yeah, it's definitely getting tight. And again, like I was saying, I feel like there's all that momentum, and now it's like, oof, it's kind of switching, flipping around again. He gets a Totanic summon off over here. I think it's the only time I let him really get it off. Right before he dies. And then the Spearback whiffs again, shooting at these guys. That was huge. I was really nervous. I was like, it needs to kill like 3 so my Inquisitor's fearless doesn't take panic list. And then yeah, this is what the end of the turn's looking like. Not all much really happened for my opponent. Going Emperor Sonnstahl 5. These guys rally on a 5-up. I didn't even. I was like honestly, I think it was a poor move. I didn't even think about how it was going to be half leadership because I'm under quarter strength. But I rolled a 5, so they turn around. I get Flux card 1, which is okay. Still have a couple Veil tokens in the pool. I'm able to get Unerring Strike off on the Totanic Summon and do 2 wounds there. And then I'm also able to get Quicksilver Lash off on the BSB. I rolled just like really nice on 3. I think I rolled 3 5s. Lost the spell, but killed his BSB. So that was dope. And he couldn't stop me with 4. And then with my shooting, I'm able to put that last one's Totanic Summon, just get it out of here. I just don't really need it, bothering me. And then, oh yeah, my Spearback's the Spearback is finally dead. It only took like what 5 turns. Well, I didn't get to shoot him. 3 turns of shooting. Yeah, because 1 round I shot at the veteran, and 1 round I was panicking. Yeah, 3 rounds of shooting. That's average, I think. And then the Steam Tank tries to shoot the Saurus, takes a wound. It was whatever. It was not necessary. He's also trying to shoot at possibly the veteran if I didn't kill him with the magic phase. Easily kind of whoop on the Skink Priest, and I turn to face so that I can see the torso and I can see the front of the Skinks in case they wanted to chaff me in the flank by going into me. And then on his turn 6, he decides to charge in with the veterans into my characters, my 2 remaining Imperial Guard. Really wants to finish him off. We're also playing at this point, not really thinking it was turn 6 apparently. Because he could have just moved into the train feature, or he could have been thinking he would want to get into the train feature afterwards. But what happens in the combat is he kills 2 Imperial Guard, and my characters do like a couple wounds back, and we need we have a Discipline 7 minimized leadership test from Divination, and we fail it with the reroll. We flee, and the cart flees, and the Wizard Bunker stays. So. Really rough turn. And again, he goes into the Wizard Bunker because we apparently were like really lost track of the turn, and we did not think it was turn 6. So we're like operating under the impression we have 1 more turn, because otherwise he could have just repositioned his unit to be in the water, not reform them, but reposition the unit to or pivot them to be in the water, and he could have just ended right there, and that wouldn't have been a bad turn 6 to kill a bunch of characters, kill an engine, and then just turn to face and be in your train feature. I guess he could have still gotten charged with the Steam Tank, but I don't know. So on my turn, I charge the Torsaur. I move my riders over with my Inquisitor with some shots. Put the Steam Tank into the Skinks, and yeah, I'm stuck there with the Wizard fighting those Saurus. And I'm also thinking we have another turn too, so that's why I didn't just move my Knights into the forest, because that was totally an option. I get scrying off on these guys, because again, I think I have another turn. I get the attribute on them, see if I can stick around maybe. In combat, I lose a Knight, but I put 3 wounds in the Torsaur. It breaks from combat, and then we fail our pursue roll and have to go after him. That puts us right here. And I felt like this was a really important thing, because I wanted to just turn so I could go into the forest. And I'll show again later how I turned my Knights around, but they couldn't get in. And then in combat, I lose 3 militia. I think I killed 1 Saur somehow. And they don't go off the board. Just like the teeniest little margin on. It's crazy. I only rolled like 4. And he wanted to turn around to get in the water still, so Because again, this should have been the end of the game. It's really interesting. This should have been the end of the game. But we both thought we had another turn. So we ended up actually playing a turn 7 this game. So this is kind of the end of turn 6 before turn 7. He's kind of poised to go into the water feature to try and get the objective. I don't have anything that can get the objective at this point. These guys rallied, because they fled from the steam tank. He puts his Saurian in the water. Yeah, he's got like 2 Jerusalem spells. Then he tries to cast, and he tries to cast Spark, but he doesn't really get much off. And then at the start of my turn 7, I have a minimize 7 discipline check again. And I just roll 3 6s for my test, and I just flee off of the board. So yeah, that was even really sad too, because like these guys could have just flipped around and saved like 400 points, but nope, they just go right off the board. I charged the steam tank and the riders into the Saurus warriors. See if I can budge them from that water train. And this was a picture showing that like, oh, I turned my knights around and I couldn't get in the forest, but it's also turn 7, so I don't know. In combat, goes okay. I kill 5 of them. Yeah, they swing back and they kill 3 riders. They don't do any damage to the steam tank. So it's really just the Inquisitor and the steam tank at this point. And they do break from combat because, they were in the water train, so they didn't actually have any ranks. Otherwise, they would have stuck around and claimed the objective on turn 7, but it's whatever. So yeah, this is really the end of the game, actually. I mean, I don't know, the way we played it. It's just, my knights are alive, my steam tank's alive, my Inquisitor with Soul Shots is alive, he's got 1 Skink Priest alive, and his Skink Bunker, and then he's got his Saurus Veterans fleeing, but they are under half points. So I tallied it, like the day I tallied it, it was like a 13-7. Nobody had the objective. That's 13-7 on points. And then later on, when I'm was working on the battle port, I realized we went to turn 7. So turn 6 is probably like a 12-8 EOS victory. Just because there was a little bit less points. A little bit more points on the board on both sides. But some of it was like still fleeing. And so yeah, it was like, whew, yeah, it was kind of weird. I don't know how we played to turn 7. This was a really bloody game. It was a fun game though, honestly. I had such a great time. Really enjoyed the list. Just kind of a different EOS list. I don't think it's like the strongest list I've ever made, but I think it's very interesting. Just in that there's, all these like different kind of moving pieces. I feel like there's a lot of independent units. And I kind of like that. I feel like I was almost fighting 3 separate smaller battles. Like I had 1 in the middle, I had 1 on my right flank, and I had 1 on my left flank. And at different points of the game, they were going better than other ones. I mean, obviously, it's still one big cohesive battle, but I don't know, it's a very interesting list. I might try and play it again. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.